Ooh, that is better.
Look how much better it is. This is 2023 model, this is 2024 model, and if you remember when we were making videos about the 2024 model, I said that ASUS needs to change these things. Guess what? They actually listened. So I really appreciate all of your comments because we finally managed to change their minds to make the #1 ultimate creator laptop of 2025. Let me explain why. I've noticed that the new one is slightly higher in the front bit, and when I'm looking at them from underneath, it's literally exactly the same. Actually, there's slightly more intake. As you can see, this one here with a 5090 on the left side has a little bit of more air coming in from this side. So then, MacBook Pro versus P16. I've been looking into some things, and here are some of the reasons why people are moving from the MacBook to the P16. #1, the price. This MacBook Pro over here on this side costs $5,000. This one is with 128 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. But if you match it with the specs of this one here, which would be 64 gigabytes of RAM and 4 terabytes of storage, then it's actually even more expensive, $5,200, something like that. Whereas this P16 right now, $4,000. So as you can see, this guy's not cheap, but it is cheaper than the MacBook Pro. But that also shows us that this guy means business, some serious business. And also bear in mind, this one has VRAM and RAM separately. There's a lot of VRAM, whereas on here, it's all the same. So in some sense, you get even more with the P16. #2, form factor. Previously, when you wanted a proper workstation laptop, if you remember the earlier version of the P16 or the StudioBook 16, it was heavy, it was big, it was massive. Whereas now, the P16 is actually lighter than the MacBook Pro. To me, that amount of performance should not fit into this chassis, into this type of laptop. It should be much bigger. Then we have software support, and for that, I would give it to the P16 as well, because Mac OS, if you're a creative professional, some of the 3D programs are not supported in there, but with this, a lot more, especially 3D if you want to do anything on the go. The RTX 5090 is absolutely insane, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But also, when you buy this laptop, you also get 3 months for free Adobe Creative Cloud and other software benefits, which might take the price even further down if you're already paying for this, which is a nice little bonus. Then the next point is video editing performance, and that's partly what I'm testing over here right now. Here's the thing, with NVIDIA RTX 50 series, there is something that none of the other manufacturers have out there. NVIDIA Encoders and Decoders. The amazing thing here is that even though this is the laptop version of 5090, NVIDIA didn't cut any of the encoders on the laptop version. So you get exactly the same encoders as on the desktop version, which pulls almost 600 watts. So that is 3 encoders and 2 decoders. They're the latest generation, and previous generations don't support codec support for 10-bit H.265. You might be saying, hey, I already have that with Intel QuickSync or on the MacBook Pro, but also H.264. 10-bit H.264 422 supports on that hardware acceleration. That's insane. So if you're on the go and you want the best performance and timeline performance on this one, that is actually quite impressive with this one. Plus the 24 gigabytes of VRAM and 64 gigabytes of RAM. With this, it's very, very good. But what about 5,000 plus laptop versus 4,001? Can it actually compete with the MacBook? Well, I've ran some tests. Right now, I'm doing another encoding test on MacBook Pro and on the Windows laptop, but I wanted to test the Puget Bench for Premiere Pro, which is one of my favorite tests. So I'll get MacBook Pro as the base. So this is the $5,000 laptop. And for standard overall score, you can see that the P16 is actually 4.2% faster which is fascinating. Extended overall score, the P16 actually is not as fast as the MacBook Pro, 12% slower. Long GOP, so that's H.264 and 5 codecs. The P16, interestingly, in standard and extended is 8 to 25% slower. So interestingly, the MacBook still is a little bit faster. And when it comes to ProRes RAW and ProRes playback, then obviously MacBook Pro is a lot better because they've got dedicated engines for that, and P16 is not as good. But when it comes to RAW, playing back RAW video, so whether it's Red RAW, Arri RAW, Sony RAW, then look at that. That P16 is 66.9% faster than the MacBook Pro. It's like there's no chance in there. GPU effects, 34% faster. That's absolutely ridiculous. So if someone says that the MacBook Pro is the best video editing laptop, well, I think P16 just proved itself to be better, depending which codecs you're editing. So the MacBook Pro actually finished this rendering test first. So I'm just gonna see what the actual result here is. Encoding time, 10 minutes and 31 seconds. So this was a 20-minute timeline, 4K timeline with graphs, B-roll, lots of things on top of each other, some After Effects, motion graphics, and so on. So MacBook did a really good job. So both of them were plugged in with high power mode, so the maximum performance they can get out of it. MacBook is done in 10 minutes and 31 seconds. So basically, it encoded it pretty much double the time. And now we've got just a little bit left for the P16. Interesting, I'm looking at the GPU temperatures here. The maximum GPU temperature went to 77.3 degrees, and then the CPU 93 degrees. So the CPU went hotter, but the MacBook was running them at 100 degrees. So I don't know which one is better for the system. MacBook was definitely a little bit hotter here. So P16 is done now, and P16 completed it in 14 minutes and 26 seconds. So that is 4 minutes longer than the MacBook Pro in the export test. So that's fascinating. So this is in correlation with what I just tested with the H.264 and 5 codecs, because that is exactly what I just did. I encoded it into H.264 codec. So let's test the 3D performance as well. What I have here is the M4 Max GPU, RTX 5090. Let's press go, see which one does better. Look at that. The RTX 5090 is already 3/4 of the way done the first one, while this one is still warming up the scene. We're on the second one, this is still on the first one. The MacBook GPU is 83 degrees, whereas on Windows we are 66 degrees. 93.5 degrees on the GPU, 73. So that's literally 20 degrees warmer on there than on P16. So both of them are done, and looking at the results, the P16 is 33.5% faster in Monster Scene, 33 again on Junction Scene, and 25% faster on Classroom Scene. So as you can see, the 5090 is massively better in 3D than anything that Apple can offer. Hey, it's another day and new reasons. Another huge thing, and this is probably one of the most important thing for you, is the display or the screen. What ASUS ProArt has here is just purely ridiculous. Now, if you look at these side by side, this is max brightness and this is max brightness. It's like night and day. Suddenly my MacBook Pro just looks so dim and dark, but just these colors that pop from this here, look at this. It's just so sharp and so amazing. Just when you think that MacBook screen is sharp and bright and nice contrast, you look at the ASUS one and you're like, that's just a whole other dimension. But what this is a 4K panel. So it's got more pixels than the Retina on MacBook. It's 120 Hertz, which matches the MacBook. The brightness on both of them on HDR can go up to 1600 nits, but I mean, in here I can clearly see that the P16 is just brighter and sharper. This is single-handedly the best screen I have ever tried. And I will give a clear win here for ASUS because the 16:10 aspect ratio without the notch is just beautiful to look at. It's just absolutely amazing. Now, whoever you are, whenever you want to enjoy some content with your laptop, you want the speakers to be good. I cannot figure out which one I like more, okay? Oh, when we're talking about the screen, I forgot to mention that the Asus one is also touchscreen and it supports Asus Pen Support Stylus, which MacBook doesn't. Asus calls it the Asus Lumina Pro OLED display. But when it comes to keyboards, I just really like Asus keyboards. Typing is really nice. It's very soft, kind of muted feel, whereas the Apple is more, it feels like you're typing on harder ground, not as kind of deep or soft. It's amazing. When you look at the screen side by side, you can see that the white is so much more brighter. Look at this from up there. How much brighter is the white compared to this? And then the connectivity. This one here has Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4, which is actually the latest Wi-Fi and Bluetooth standards, which we don't have on MacBook, which is really nice to see in here. So if you've got a Wi-Fi router in here, you can access files really fast. So one of the things I really want to show you before I'm going to tear this apart is I'm going to start screen recording. This is 4K screen recording. And as you can see, our GPU is doing the encoding. Let's go here so you could probably see. Yeah, there we go. When I'm going on Premiere Pro, so this is H.264, 4K, 60 frames per second, 422 10-bit H.264. This did not used to have hardware acceleration. So if I'm gonna go pick up my Threadripper system that we built, the Rocket system, $50,000, it's not gonna be as smooth as this. When I'm scrolling through this, it's just buttery smooth. It's full resolution. I'm on laptop power. It's not plugged in, and I'm scrolling this like it's nothing, except it's 10-bit 422 H.264 that usually is accelerated on the CPU. Whereas now, if I'm gonna press play, you can see in here that our CPU is hardly doing anything. Everything is played back in here, video decode. It's using NVIDIA GPU here to decode this back. But as you can see, it's hardly doing anything. So it's a lot more powerful than we'd expect. 60 frames per second, it's absolutely no problem. Bear in mind, I've got a GPU effects on there as well. That's insane. Okay, on the left side, we've got the new version. On the right side, we've got the old version. So what we can see is, firstly, the cooling is completely redesigned. We've got a vapor chamber in here, which is absolutely amazing compared to just heat pipes on the right. And obviously the vapor chamber needs to cool down the CPU and the RTX 5090, which apparently they can get up to 135 watts, whereas this is a lot lower wattage of power in there. Now, if we are looking underneath these stickers in here, you can see that there are two M.2 slots. So interestingly, the 2 terabyte model or option here has two M.2 SSDs installed. So as you can see on that side and this side, there's two installed, whereas on the old one, there was just one empty one free. So if you want to remove one and add 8 terabytes or remove both and have 8 terabytes, it's completely doable. Plus the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth chip in here is also exchangeable for future models. Now, I don't know if they've changed the speakers or not, but the new speakers seem to be sounding a lot better than the older ones. I don't know why. So I've been super excited to put it through its paces and really test it to very fine detail how good this is for creators. So this part is going to be a little bit more technical now, and we're really going to show it how good is it compared to some of the other computers out there, because this is a portable workstation that still blows my mind that it is thin and light. Now, just for context and perspective, it is $1,000 cheaper than this MacBook Pro M4 Max that I have over here. It's 200 grams lighter, it's got a much better screen, it's more than twice the storage, and it's upgradable. So let's start to take a look. Firstly, looking at the CPU performance, like what is the CPU that's inside there? So obviously we've got 12 cores and 24 threads, but that doesn't tell us everything. I want to compare it to desktop variants. We've got the 9800X 3D, arguably the best gaming CPU in the world that pulls a lot more power than this here. And if you're looking at the single core performance, we're about 9% slower, but that is literally one of the best in the world. 5% slower in the multi-core scores. That is quite impressive. Now, if you're looking at the M4 Max performance, that's got a lot more cores. We've got 16 cores now. Then we can see that the single core is 34% slower and the multi-core is 40% slower, which doesn't look impressive, but that does not tell the whole story. Let's take a look at the GPU performance, and here in Geekbench 6, we can see that the P16 is 6.4% faster than the M4 Max in OpenCL scores, and about 6.7% slower in the Vulkan Metal scores, but Vulkan and Metal can't be really compared together. Let's take a look at another GPU benchmark. We have the Geekbench 6 AI benchmark, and here the P16 is 31% faster in the single, 99 will literally double the score in half, and 2% faster in quantized scores. Now, when moving on to Photoshop, whatever I'm doing on Photoshop, honestly, it was completely fine. I don't notice any performance difference, but when comparing it to MacBook Pro M4 Max, the P16 is about 34% slower in the overall scores, 17.6% slower in the general scores, and about 48% slower in the filter scores. Interestingly, I have used both of them for doing the same stuff on Photoshop, and I don't notice any difference. We've touched the Premiere Pro already, but moving on to After Effects. In here, I've tested it with the desktop 12900K, with desktop 5060 Ti 16 gigabytes, and the P16 is 11.2% faster in the overall scores standard, and extended is 7% faster. The 2D standard score is literally 3 and a bit times faster. 2D standard 45% faster. Interestingly, tracking is slower on both of them, but it is pretty impressive. Now, this is desktop variant. They pull a lot more power. I know it's not like the latest CPU, but the GPU is desktop. It pulls more power than what we have in here, but yet we're still getting better performance on this laptop. To bring that on the go, that's what I'm excited about. That's what I wanted ASUS to do, and they've done it. Moving on to DaVinci Resolve. And here's a fascinating thing. If you remember Premiere Pro, there we saw that RAW was better on the P16, whereas in here, compared to the MacBook Pro M4 Max, the RAW is actually slower, but the long GOP is faster on the P16. As you can see behind me, it's actually encoding something. B-RAW, it's working with RAW at the moment. And when you're looking at the GPU effects, about 8% faster, but AI, massively better. Massively better. That's 77% faster. So if you're doing AI masking or any of the AI tools in DaVinci Resolve, then the P16 really shines with the RTX 5090. That 24 gigabytes of super fast VRAM is on a whole other level. When moving on to 3D, whether it's Octane, Redshift, V-Ray, Blender, whatever you're doing, the 5090 is a whole other level. It is amazing. And it just truly, if you're a 3D artist and you like a portable laptop that looks very, very similar to the MacBook Pro, is minimal, it doesn't look gamery whatsoever, is light, it's amazing. And you can see that in Blender performance, about 35% roughly faster than what we see on the MacBook, and being cheaper at the same time. I mean, I've always wanted that. Now, this is the bit that gets even more technical. The thing what usually with Windows laptops is when you plug them in or unplug them, you have a massive performance difference. And I really wanted to test that. How good is it or how good isn't it? And I tested it against the XPS 16, and that one was running the U9 185H. So it's one generation older, but in single core score, we're obviously quite a bit faster, as you can see there. I want you to focus on the battery version there. So when we are on battery, the single core score is still 10.4% faster than the XPS 16. We are 31.4% faster in multi-core score. That is huge. And when we're looking at the battery difference now, P16 plugged in versus unplugged, that's CPU performance, you can see that single core score, doesn't change whatsoever. So if you've got the laptop plugged in or unplugged, you've got the same performance, which basically means the laptop will feel the same snappiness, how windows open or close, whether you're plugged in or not. That's basically the single core performance. Multi-core performance is 6.7% slower. You won't be noticing the difference in multi-core score. That is really, really good news in terms of the CPU department, because that's unheard of, really. People, and I don't think ASUS even knows that they've done this, but this is amazing. When you have it plugged in or unplugged, the CPU performance, I can say in my experience, is basically the same, which is really, really cool. Now, it's not really the same when we're talking about the GPU performance, because I wanted to see what about the GPU performance, because when it's plugged in and unplugged, looking at Blender, I can see about 40% decrease in performance when it's unplugged, which means that the battery really isn't able to deliver 100 to 130 watts, something like that, what we see in Blender. To go even more in depth in the 3D performance, the RTX 5090 on a laptop can be adjusted by the manufacturer. So if ASUS puts it in their system or somebody else puts it in the system, they can kind of tune it according to their cooling. And usually I'm testing this on Fairmark, which is basically a synthetic test on the GPU, and I can see how much power we're pushing through the GPU. And in Fairmark, I'm only seeing roughly around 100 watts. Interestingly, when I'm doing some of the 3D tests, so whether it's V-Ray, Blender, I'm seeing about 132 watts in V-Ray and about 122 watts in Blender. So it's able to push it actually further, and the temperatures is quite all right. The vapor chamber really cools it down. So I'm actually very, very impressed that it can cool down that much power on such thin chassis and still be lighter than the MacBook Pro, which struggles to cool itself down. It's got so much more cooling, but it runs at 100 degrees, whereas this one doesn't. So it's actually quite impressive cooling and performance on the 3D and RTX 5090. So I've actually been using this P16 for about a week now, and I also want to give you kind of my evaluation, what it's been like when I've actually been using it, because I've replaced this with my actual workstation. So this has been the core of using everything. And to be honest, some of the things, even on benchmarks, did not exactly translate to when I was actually using it. I really notice the power of a laptop going down when I'm opening a complex, already made, edited video that I have to look through, and I'm looking through everything twice the speed. And when a computer can't handle it, it just starts to drop frames and it's gonna be all right. I have to press pause, wait for it, and then press again, and sometimes I can't do everything. Whereas this one, it actually just never skipped a beat. On the benchmarks, it kind of looks like maybe it shouldn't do that, but in here, it's absolutely amazing. The performance, I'm super happy with the performance. If you're thinking about getting this, it really can replace a workstation, which is pretty insane. The trackpad is super large. The ASUS dial can give you extra shortcuts in your editing workflow when you don't want to bring extra accessories with you. The keyboard's got to be one of my favorites out there. It's just super nice and smooth, and like a silencer in a gun, the way you type it, it's amazing. Now the display. To me, this is single-handedly the best laptop screen I've ever tried and seen. It's just unbelievable. Now, when I'm trying out other laptops, it kind of feels like something's wrong with the other laptops. The MacBook Pro seems like dim and a little bit like gray. When going back to here, everything is just amazing. You will notice the difference. Everything I'm trying on it, whatever content I'm interacting with it, is just amazing. And knowing that the Delta E is less than 1 in color accuracy just gives you the confidence that what you're seeing, other people are also seeing. Now, there are some AI software perks as well. Two of them that are quite interesting. Number one, MuseTree, which is local AI software for image generation. Whether you like your rough sketches or keywords turned into an image, it's completely unlimited and free. And I bet ChatGPT is not happy about that, because now you can generate all the images locally. You don't even need to connect to an internet. The second one, StoryQ, which uses AI to auto-organize people and scenes in all your footage and photos, helps you to sort the footage basically. Only downside is that it doesn't support external device folders. So that's mapped network drives or anything external that you plug in. They have to be stored locally. So unfortunately, I couldn't get the AI ASUS ProArt to sort out all my terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of B-roll archive. But it can help you sort the footage if you're editing or you've got a massive project loaded onto the local drives, then it can help you. I wish Premiere Pro would built something like that into their software. So when you just drop all of your folders into there, you could just easily find the footage that you're looking for. That would be cool. Regarding the ASUS and GoPro collaboration, all owners of ZenBook, VivoBook and ProArt laptops of 2023 or newer can redeem up to 6 months free GoPro Premium Plus subscription. On top of that, all laptops can update to the latest StoryCube app, which lets you sort and index videos, photos and music, including GoPro's proprietary 360-degree file format. So anyone with an ASUS laptop and a GoPro can streamline their workflow. GoPro very kindly sent me the GoPro Max 2 to test out the footage and this function. Unfortunately, it hasn't arrived in time. So instead, I've been showing you how my good friend Benji Kaiser is able to view the 360-degree footage straight on StoryCube and import footage from GoPro Cloud. You can drag and drop the files directly from the StoryCube to the video editing software. Go check out Ben's experience with the P16. And then Microsoft Copilot Plus. I'm sure you know how that works. You've got a dedicated button to quickly trigger that if you want to access anything quickly. Then you might have heard me always rave on about the 3-month free Adobe Creative Cloud subscription that you usually get with ASUS ProArt products. Well, this is the case in here as well. But on top of that, you also get GoPro Premium Plus subscription, which gives you unlimited cloud storage for GoPro footage and much more. Now, there are 3 kind of ideas that I would like for next generation of ProArt laptops to improve. Something that I think would really make a difference in the creative workflow, because I think the performance, we've kind of nailed it. The usability, it's all there. It's just really amazing to use. Whatever you put your hands, fingers, eyes on it, it's just amazing. But number 1 is the power cord, because the one that comes with it is a huge, massive block. I would love if we would have 240 watts USB-C or 2 USB-C ports that support, I don't know, 2 cables, 120 watts each. We could get 240 watts, maybe even more. That would be really cool. Number 2 thing is ASUS ProArt docking station. Now you might be thinking there's plenty of docks out there. No, but what if ProArt made their own docking station? What I mean is, imagine if it included cooling, charging, and data transfer. Kind of put your laptop onto something that uses special connection or whatever that allows you to have even more ports on your laptop, but also support cooling, whereas we would deliver even more power to this laptop. So when you're using it at home, you can get extra performance, extra wattage out. What if we were pulling like 500 watts CPU and GPU combined? That would be unbelievable, because most of the time the power restriction is because of the cooling of the laptop. Let me know if you agree with me. And thirdly, it's battery life. So if you plan to do anything heavy video editing, the battery goes down quite quickly because they are power hungry components. Overall now, I've used it for a week, I've tested, tried lots of different things. What am I gonna say? I'm saying this is the best Windows creator laptop that anyone has ever created. It's amazing. I don't think we've had something like this ever before, because previously we've either had a big junk that looks like a big block that you're carrying with you, that's huge and massive, like the old ProArt Studio Book. It was bulky, it was big. Now, it's half the size, it packs so much power than this one. We've never had a 90 series NVIDIA GPUs on such thin form factor. The screen is the best ever. It's just absolutely amazing. Wherever you go, you know that your workstation goes with you. So I'm just super happy that ASUS ProArt has created the best ultimate creator laptop on the go. Just thanks ASUS for making products that creators actually want. And I'm so glad that the little things that I've said in the previous model, they've actually been improved. I said we don't have high-end GPUs in there. And secondly, the display, I wanted 120 Hertz. They went even further with the display and gave us the best laptop GPU possible. They've delivered. ASUS has delivered. Oh, links in the description below if you want to pick it up.